Y'all, I'm gonna have to bite my tongue throughout this video because what we're talking about today is the testimony of Dr. Lewis, Letecias Stock's psychiatrist, who took the stand and basically believed every word that Leticia had to say. And we're gonna talk about some of those highlights in today's video. Hello Sofa Squad and welcome back to the sofa which sits behind me. Mr. Roscoe's holding a spot down back there and my name is Paul. Now, as I said in my little intro, yes, we are talking about that explosive testimony from Dr. Lewis, and there is so much of it to talk about, but I've just taken a few clips out of it to, accentuate, use as talking points. Now, obviously, before I even get started, you already know if you follow me, and if you don't, you're getting ready to know. I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not a lawyer. This is literally just my opinions. It's for entertainment purposes only. I urge you to come up with your own opinions, your own conclusions, and share them down in the comment section below. So we're slapping allegedly all over this. And the way that the channel works, that this video is going to work, is I'm going to put some clips up. We'll use that as a talking point, and then we'll dive on in. Now, before we dive in, let's very quickly get everyone on the same page as to who is Dr. Lewis. I'm going to put this stuff up on the screen and just read this through real quick. Now, you'll see here, this is a thing from Wikipedia. Now, if you don't know, then you know. Wikipedia is not like a hardcore resource. That's why I'm only using some of this basic information on there, because it can be changed and whatnot. But this gets the point across. You see her picture. She's also known for this HBO Max Crazy Not Insane, a docu-series, I guess it is. And down here it says that she's an American psychiatrist and author who has been an expert witness at a number of high-profile cases. She specializes in the study of violent individuals and people with DID, dissociative identity disorder, formerly known as multiple personality disorder. And we'll just leave it at that. You can pause to read the rest of it if you want, but that's what Leticia is trying to claim, and we'll see some of those clips as well. So let's go ahead and get to the first clip.
Could you please state and spell your last name for the record?
Dorothy Otnow Lewis, Lewis, MD.
Okay, now that was just laying the foundation, getting proof and evidence that this is her on the stand. Let's keep going.
Child. And what puzzled me was there, when you talk with her, and as if you've seen any of the pictures of her tapes, this is not a stupid girl. She is intelligent. She is in certain phases, certain states. She is able to reason, apparently logically, and to speak clearly and coherently. And yet she makes up the darndest stories that no ordinary person of below average intelligence would expect to be believed.
Coming in hot with the first clip. Immediately no. Immediately no. Now again, I'll say this. Do I have the credentials that Dr. Lewis has? No. Not at all. So, there's that to be said. Again, these are just my opinions. But y'all, when she came out with this, I was like, did we interview the same girl? Yeah. The last part rings true about the whole, anyone with even below average intelligence wouldn't think that these would be believed, because I'm like, yeah, that's the whole issue here. She's like, she's not a stupid girl. She says the darndest things. I was like, literally consistently throughout this, she has said stuff and done stuff that I'm like, there's no way. There's absolutely no way anyone with even common sense would do and say these things. But again, for me personally, watching what I've seen, I do not think that Leticia has DID. I do not think that Maria, her other personality, did this. I think she 100% knew what she did. She tried to cover up along the way, and somehow she has completely snowed this doctor. And we'll get into some of my thoughts about, why maybe the doctor's going this route and some of the further implications of that at the end of the video. But let's get a clip too.
So that, there is a puzzle. I had after I thought about all of it together, I thought, I don't think she knows what happened. I don't think she knows. And I think that, as asked at different times, this is what came into her head and this is what she produced. But I don't think she knows for sure what happened.
She knows. Okay, that's why she made up all these stories trying to get out of it. I feel sorry for Gannon's family sitting in the audience listening to this. I mean, again, I'm no psychiatrist. I am no doctor, right? So I wasn't there interviewing Letitia. I'm just going based on what I've seen in the trial thus far, in the case thus far. And honestly, to hear someone try and excuse this away, it's infuriating, to be honest. It's very infuriating. I think she 100% knew what she did. And that's why the evidence shows that she tried to cover it up multiple times. She'd made these stories up not because she was triggered or having flashbacks or anything, because she was trying to get out of trouble, right? This is what she does. She's a pathological liar. Again, just my opinion. I'm not credentialed to say that. But it's just surprising to me to see a doctor up here with the credentials that she has. Dr. Lewis is credentialed up, okay? I mean, she's got it going on in that way. So that's why I'm like, what is this coming from? It's very jarring to me, like I said, to hear someone excusing this away, not excusing it away, but, saying, oh, no, she doesn't even know what she did. But someone of her caliber to be saying this, it's very surprising to me.
I don't know whether at the time that she says these things, she believes them, because to you or to me, they make no sense. They're silly.
Yeah, silly is right. Makes no sense. That's right. This is accurate. We're going in the right direction. We just unfortunately don't stay on that path.
She not only could tell about talking to different beings that were not there, but she puzzled things up a bit, because she also, I believe, talked to God. And there are a lot of us here, probably in this room, who at times have thought that, gee, we talked to God, or we thought we had an answer, or we wished we did, or we didn't. So that you can't simply say that her having talked to God was a psychotic symptom. It may well have been. What I found more convincing in terms of her psychotic symptoms were things that she didn't tell me about, but I read through I guess they were kind of nursing or guards notes from the correctional institution where she was.
The jail.
From jail. And there were several times that different caretakers of one sort or another looked in the room and found her talking to someone who was not there. And this was not as though, as far as I knew, she didn't know anyone was watching her, or she wasn't performing for the galleries, that she was talking with somebody.
Now, this is my whole thing. Whenever I hear this kind of testimony, I'm sitting here thinking, but we've seen evidence of her asking the guards and stuff like that. Can you tell when someone's faking? Trust me, she's committed to this. Okay, that's the other thing. It's like, I think one thing that I disagree with Dr. Lewis on is I'm just like, Letitia was, when I say committed, she's trying to really carry this out, right? I think we see her come and go when she has the energy for it to put forth a little bit of effort. That's why we might see her do weird things in the courtroom, and then she's acting bored nonetheless, like she goes back to her resting point, right? Which is not insane. So this whole thing, she was talking to other people and doing this, I'm like, yeah, this is easily made up. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is like textbook 101 faking, okay? There was nothing believable to me about this. Now, do I study this? No. But I mean, my gosh, just look at TikTok, for example. How many people have been outed on there for faking mental illnesses with Tourette's, DID, you name it, right? This is not something new. This is not something that should be unfounded. And listening to the state's testimony, where they're like speaking highly, or speaking to a lot of, we take this into consideration, of if someone's, I forget what it's called, where you're faking or whatever. I take more value with that because there's not a monetary thing attached to it. There's not motivation from the doctor, right? So this part, I was just like, yeah, this is not, I just, losing credibility.
Well, how did she describe, do you recall, how kind of Gannon starting the fire and how that kind of impacted her state?
I was a bit confused by it, so I'm not positive. I can only share with you what I remember. I think there was a candle on the floor. Sure. And I think that some of the carpet burned. And this is separate. There was a different fire at another time that apparently really traumatized her, but we're talking about Gannon at this time. And I believe that she also said that Eduardo was the carpet fixer, perhaps even he helped put out the fire, I don't recall, and that then there was an attempt to cover up the fire that had occurred. But I think that she thought that he had started it with a candle.
Do you recall her describing after the candle fire incident, it was at that time she started having visions of her stepdad, James, being alive and her seeing him? Being alive and her seeing her stepdad, James.
I don't recall that it was that time particularly. There were times that she saw him. I think there was a time she was driving a car and she was on the highway and she saw some very large figure. But I can't recall that that was specifically the time she.
Well, then that would have been the next Monday that her and Gannon were driving, and you recall her describing that she actually saw James on the side of the road.
Now, what's also curious to me is there's times where I'm like, who's she working for? Yeah, because this right here, where obviously they're trying to be like, well, didn't it go this way? No, I don't remember that. You know, just like, is she trying to help put her in jail? You know what I'm saying? But then other times, you know, well, I shouldn't say this. Also, at the same time, I'm like, don't they prep these people before they come out? You know what I mean? Like, they meet with them like, okay, this is, you know, the general direction. Let's get familiar. And there's times where it's like, okay, well, I might have forgotten. Let me present this to you. And the judge, you know, they get called out, the defense, on this at one point for forgetting to kind of, you know, set that foundation. But throughout the whole testimony, it just surprised me. And I was like, I'm glad she's being honest and saying, you know, no, I don't remember that, or I don't recall that, or I think it went this way. But what it all plays into this, just to me, doing absolutely no favors for the defense. And also, can I just say, if I hear the Eduardo name one more time, I'm going to absolutely just fall apart. I'm like, oh my God. If you follow this case and you know, when these names started popping up and she was coming up with all these stories and these different versions of this happened and that happened and this happened and that happened, you know, and these elusive names and figures that she brought out, and I'm just like, oh my God, here he comes again to haunt us on the stand.
At that point in time.
Objection, Your Honor, leading.
Sustain, rephrase. Do you recall anything about her, any visualizations or something that could be a visual hallucination that she recalled after that occurred in the day or so after the fire?
Yes, I recall that I thought it was out the car window that they were driving, and I thought it was a large figure of some sort. There's also, she had a visual hallucination of some entity with a cape. These are hallucinations, and because she sees them, the rest of us do not see them. That has to be considered a psychotic symptom because it is beyond reality.
I mean, again, here's my thing. If you believe every word she says, but again, I'm just like, did we watch the same stuff here? I mean, she came up with story after story after story after story. And, you know, while one part of me is like, clearly somebody is not right who will do something like this. We know this, right? But there's a difference between knowing what was right and wrong and being way off kilter. And also, evidence prior to the event showing this. There's no such thing of this with Letecias. You know, there's no such thing of this. It's like she cooks this stuff up after the fact, trying to get out of trouble. And we're going to get to some of the videotape of her presenting an altar. And I'm just like, oh, girl. And no.
Was it at all of significance to you that the excuse when she called herself into work, that early Monday morning, that it was the excuse she said was, my stepdad has been killed in a car crash?
This I categorize in my own brain as one of her least believable concoctions of what happened or what must have happened. To the best of my knowledge, this stepdad had died perhaps 8 years prior to that, and yet she was going to his funeral that day. Surely this is, first of all, it would be stupid if she were a stupid girl. She is not stupid. To give that as an explanation as why she can't do this or why she can go there.
Yeah, it would be stupid, wouldn't it? But she did it, and I can assure you she wasn't really thinking she was going there. It's almost like Dr. Lewis isn't considering that somebody might lie. It's almost like that's not an option. You know, that's completely not an option. We're going to put blinders onto that of, you know, it's not a possibility that she's lying about this or making this up. So we're going to take everything at face value, you know, because this was a prime example, and she's right. I mean, this is the most absurd thing to be like, why would you call out with that? I don't care that it happened 8 years ago and that it's technically true, because I think that this is what Leticia does. She picks and pulls from things. That's an excuse where it's like somebody can follow up with that so easy. Like, why would you use that? And if the logic is, well, then this must mean that she wasn't in her right mind. No, some people think that they are so good at lying and manipulating others that they can just do and say whatever they want to, and they're going to get out of it. And she is, to me, in my opinion, one of those type people that met her match with this. I mean, she couldn't undo this, right? How can you undo it? She had some kind of a narc rage or something and went off on Gannon and took his life in a brutal way, and then tailspin from there trying to cover it up.
Do you recall her switching to the persona and talking to you in the persona of Maria?
Yes.
And you recall what Maria told you about what happened to Gannon?
I'm sorry, I don't remember.
Do you recall Maria, well, not necessarily what happened to Gannon, but Maria shooting somebody who she perceived as a Cape person?
You know, I'm going to object this to leading. She just said she can't remember, and that counsel's leading her.
Well, that's true. You do have to ask the other question of would it help to refresh your recollection? And you can use anything to refresh your recollection, but it did not say that you saying that would refresh your recollection. So you need to ask that question.
Would me describing what Maria said refresh your recollection?
I think if I read what Maria said, I would, that would refresh my recollection. But I do not recall exactly that.
Again, this is where I'm just like, this is the main point of the testimony, right? And she's going to give here, I don't remember. I'm like, what? You know what I'm saying? And this is where I'm like, didn't y'all talk about this before she got in the stand, like a few days before? This is the part where I'm like, this is not looking good for the defense. But again, look at what they have to work with, right? And I'm not just talking about Dr. Lewis's testimony. I'm talking about Leticia and all her stories, right? It's not good. But let this also begin to introduce what we're getting ready to watch. Now, let's look at one more clip before we get into absolute cringe.
I can recall my own thinking around that time where I thought, was she in the state of Maria when she killed Gannon? And there was something about the way in which this was depicted to me where I thought, my goodness, have I met the killer alter? And so there was something about the way in which she spoke of this that led me to think that I had very likely met the most violent and most dangerous alter.
I mean, cannot roll my eyes hard enough. Okay, now y'all, this is the official, we're getting ready to meet Maria. Now, here's the thing, y'all. You're going to have to, number one, buckle your seatbelts up. Okay, because this is bad. Like, you're going to want to crawl under the damn sofa and cover your eyes with embarrassment, secondhand embarrassment. Secondly, this first clip, y'all, the audio, and it absolutely just kills me, right? The audio is really bad on this, so just know that, like, just prepare yourself. But there's going to be nuggets of it that I'll circle back to. The first clip we're watching is a long clip, but there's a reason for it. And then the other ones are kind of shorter ones just because I'm like, I can't with this. But just know that going into this, the audio is a little bit messed up on this one. And so let's, just bear with me here.
No, that's for the record, doctor, just so the record indicates what we're playing, okay? I can play.
They're being projected as some monster and like you don't know, and you're like looking around and you like, this is not me. I don't do these things and I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
This made this more. Is it possible that you did state? Yeah.
If I did, I didn't know I did or did not intentionally do it. You know what I'm saying? There was no intention to harm anyone that would get you a loved one of mine. You see what I'm saying?
Because, you know,
Yep.
again, I did not see him. What? See him? Where does he see it?
Yeah.
As said, I did not do that. I did this, not to put whatever. But this is one thing that she keeps saying. She didn't do, or else it gives, you do get some pretty wacky stories about you think. There is a possibility. It's no clear that what. Do you think that's a possibility?
Oh, I said that from the beginning, that I all over the place because I really, same job.
Is it possible you did that when on state?
I was in a what state?
Stayed in one of these states where you were involved.
Oh, yeah, I've said that definitely. I know that, but I was not an intention to hurt Shannon. Like, it was never, like, no, absolutely not. I love Shannon.
Okay, so a lot to unpack here. First of all, Leticia immediately goes back to, no, it wasn't intentional. Not intentional. Maybe her and Sarah Boone need to share a cell, right? Here's one of my biggest problems with this. Dr. Lewis, and I believe it's Leticia's attorney sitting off to the side, is talking to, so pretend, I don't want to say pretend y'all are Leticia, but just work with me here, okay? So I'm Dr. Lewis, you're Leticia, and the therapist over there. Okay, so we'll just say you're the patient. So you're telling me this information, and number one, she's like, is it possible that? Completely leading it on, right? And then she's looking to the patient's, whoever, the attorney. I don't think she knows what she was doing then. Do you think that? And I'm like, just tell her what you want her to say at this point. She is latching onto this. It's like this very leading testimony. And I'm like, why are you having this conversation in front of the patient to give them ideas on what to make up and say, right? This was shocking to me. And we'll get into that in a little bit, but I'll probably forget, so we'll go ahead and say it. To me, I'm watching this, and I'm like, okay, number one, I have not watched her documentary yet, the HBO thing. Don't really know much about her until this case came up, and now I'm like, should we be questioning some of the other work she's done at this point? Because this doesn't seem like, almost like when you do like a scientific method control type thing. I'm like, this is like tainting the experiment. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, let's continue.
I took care of these kids since they were 5 and 2. I've had these kids from coast to coast, country to country. Like, that's not, what do I gain out of hurting a child? Absolutely nothing. Like, I lose everything in my entire life. And not only is it about me being hurt, but other people around me. And if I'm sitting there telling you that I care about all these people, there are other people hurting this. If I was going to hurt somebody, why would it not be these people that are hurting people? Right.
Also, in true Leticia fashion, turns it right back around to, I was doing this for the kids. I was doing that for the kids. I. If I was going to just, I've lost everything. And this seems to fall on deaf ears in this interview, right? And other ones where I'm like, okay, these are things that people picked up on other things. Why is it we're only looking with the blinders of dissociative identity disorder when there's clearly so many other things going on? In my opinion, that's all it is. I ain't credentialed or nothing. I hate to keep saying that, but I just, I'd like to be very transparent about that because, I know I'm saying things that could be like, well, Paul, who are you? Right? You're just a guy with a sofa, and that's the truth.
Because I wish I would have just lived when he asked me just a kid. I don't know face. I don't know about face kid charges. But it was didn't want me to leave and not even tell her. God, I should have just did it.
I believe she's crying, but for herself because of the trouble she's in. She probably is really thinking, if I had only left, I wouldn't be here in jail. My life wouldn't be ruined. It's not this, and that could have been what set her off, is him telling her to get out, and she went into some rage or whatever, right? But I do not think that she's crying because he lost his life and all this kind of, no, not at all. I have not seen that from her, and I don't believe it here. Now, let's also, so don't take your seatbelts off, but now get another seatbelt because we're about to meet Maria, and it gets even worse.
I gotta say, again, not me, but someone else could take over and hurt someone, and that's not where I want to be. Yeah, because I don't want to do that. Like, that's not. So why do you think it'd be so intense? Yeah.
Now, this is just kind of introducing this and her talking about, oh, people could get hurt and and I'm just like, I don't know what book she got a hold of in jail. I don't know if she's seen that movie Damn Sybil years ago for all this and she just conjured up memories from it. I don't know where she got this from, right? But 100% I do not believe this one bit. So let's go ahead and watch a couple of the clips.
If someone is trying to hurt people, I'm going to make sure they're okay. Because that is what I do each and every time. I'm going to always make sure that people are going to be okay.
I can't with the hair tousled on top of her head. And her saying, I'm going to make sure people are okay. I'm like, oh my God. She was putting in the work here again, y'all. I mean, she was like, I got it. She's like, this is going to be the performance of a damn lifetime, is what she's thinking. She was thinking, if I can pull this one off, I can pull anything off, right? And I think she met somebody in Dr. Lewis that she felt like, you know what, I can sit here and pull one over on this lady, and I'm going to give it my all.
I understand why I'm always being asked what is going on in here, because this is my job to do things for people and to protect them. Because it's what I have to do. That is who are the protector. I'm going to always do that because if people are molesting kids and people are hurting kids, this is what I do for them. And if people are hurting elderly people and people are always doing this to people, this is what I'm going to do.
Roll my eyes hard enough. She threw that elderly thing in there trying to be like, I'll protect you, Dr. Lewis. You know what I'm saying? Like trying to buddy up to her. And Dr. Lewis is just sitting there, going with it. Now, this might be what a normal psychiatrist would do in this scenario and poke around and play along with or whatever, just, interact and that kind of thing to get information. But the fact that she's come back talking about, I met the most violent alter of hers. And I'm like, girl, you believe that? You believe that show right there? Absolutely not.
Where? Do you know where you are? Yeah. And who have I talked to? Taylor.
Now, I feel like in this one, and y'all help me out here because I've watched it over and over, and when she's like, who am I talking to? And I feel like Letecias says, Taylor. And so I'm like, did she allegedly switch from Maria to Taylor? Am I hearing this right? Let me know in the comment section. Because again, you can clear she switched alters, right? And I didn't say this beginning, but let me just be clear. The things I'm saying about Letecia's specific case, this is not to discount people who might really have this situation going on. I'm speaking in this way because I do not believe Leticia. I do not think she has this disorder or illness. And I think that she is doing a lot of injustices and harms to communities that might actually suffer from authentic mental illnesses by honestly making a mockery of it is what she's doing, just to get out of the horrendous acts that she did to poor little Gannon.
Yes, ma'am. What? Yes, ma'am. What just said? You asked me about my grandpa. I asked you to do that. Oh, we were talking about Fred.
It's Fred here, years ago.
If I was Letitia, I would have been so embarrassed trying to play it off. Like, and my face would have gone numb, being like, is she buying it? Is she buying it? Is she buying it? You know what I'm saying? Like, I would have just wanted to crawl under the table.
But you know what just happened with you? No. Something really essential. Then I spoke with you, with someone who said, I protect them, I always protect them, I don't know anything.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, what would you say?
Oh, I don't know. I just think
Who is the protection?
oh, sorry.
I mean, the cringe, y'all, the way she's, I don't know. You know, Letitia is sitting here in her mind thinking, yeah, this is a bunch of BS because she's buying this from me. Like, you know, she has to be thinking, like, I can't believe how gullible this woman is, right? I mean, laying it on thick. No one that has known her has ever mentioned this before. And again, this is what I'm talking about, like, Landon, Al, her daughter, all had to be sitting there like, seriously? Like, this is the depths you're going to go to at this point over this. It absolutely runs all over me.
I don't get it.
I was saying sorry. I don't know what we were talking about. We were talking about Fred. That's all I remember.
You know, you told me that it was a kind of phase, things. Who would be the protector?
Oh, my protector is Maria.
The way Letitia looks at her and smiles, like, sorry, I mean, it just has that look of, are you believing this? You know, are we going to keep going? Like, almost like someone who's lying to that degree and they're waiting for the person to be like, this is a bunch of BS type situation. But she's going to go and she's like, oh, my protector, that's Maria. That's Maria. Yeah, that was her. That was her. She came out. I didn't even know I did my hair like this. You know what I mean? Like, it's absolutely ridiculous.
Maria, I would like very much to talk with you.
If you want to talk to Maria, I don't know. Sometimes she'll talk. Sometimes she won't.
Whatever it is, I'd love it for you.
Yeah.
Tell you will consider that. Tell me, where is your special place? You go when, say, Maria is in that.
Remember in the beginning where her attorneys did that whole fake thing about walking out of the courtroom? This is where I legitimately would have. I would have been so embarrassed to put this up there, talking about this is legit. This is what we got. This is our defense. Is this right here? I would have walked out of the courtroom. I would not have shown my face. But I mean, again, they've got to do their job. I get it, right? And so there's that. And this is all they have to work with is this right here. And it's a sad state of affairs.
I like to go hang out and drink some wine and be by the beach and hang out with Tyler.
Well, I would like to go there and let me come with Maria. And we'll do it. Yeah. But now I'd like you to go to a special place, and Maria, I need to talk to you. Because Maria, you have a lot of control. What people do. Is that correct?
I think she does, for sure, but
I need to talk with you.
yeah.
I know you can hear me. And
I mean, again, I think she's also thinking that she's going to be the next damn Sybil, right? I think if you know what I'm talking about, then you know what I'm talking about. You know, I think Letitia's place in here, I could get a book deal out of this. You know, I'll just keep making this up. Now, you know, because the doctor has shown interest in Maria, she's going to play that out. Again, she is lapping this up, and I'm talking about Leticia. She's lapping this up because she's got this doctor eating out of the palm of her hand. Now, here's my thing, and I'll say it again. This makes me question the doctor's work before this. I want to research into it more and watch that series, because just seeing the tactics that were done in this and the way the interviewing was going and this kind of stuff and what other doctors have to say, I'm like, this is not a good look. This is not a good look at all, right? I mean, this is bad. Now, on that note, am I upset that it's bad? No, because I think it will just help further justice being brought forth to Leticia. Again, I do not think she's insane. I do not think she has DID. I think she knew what she was doing and that she is gone on a tailspin of pathological lying, trying to get out of trouble, right? Now, we never know the motivation when the defense is paid for, witnesses come up, right? Maybe Dr. Lewis needed money. Maybe, she is just someone who takes face value and really believes in this and just kind of has some blinders on to some other stuff. I mean, I don't know. And like I said before, I mean, I'm not a doctor, right? So I've never interviewed someone in this capacity. I'm just sitting on the sidelines making, judgments here from what I see. But what I've seen from the other doctors and whatnot, and then comparing to other trials, is this just doesn't seem right. This method of interviewing, kind of leading her on and placing ideas in her head and pandering and coddling this idea here, and the whole thing of, oh, Maria did it and she didn't know this. I mean, come on, really? I mean, I personally think this testimony is going to hurt her case even worse. I mean, this is terrible. It's almost as bad as if you let her get on the stand, right? This is almost a way of putting her on the stand, like low key, you know what I mean? And it didn't do her any favors, the same as it wouldn't do her any favors if she got on the stand. So anyways, let me know what you think. What do you think of Dr. Lewis? What did you believe her? What are your thoughts on it? I'm curious to know. Drop them in the comments. And until we gather around the sofa with the thing that the computer is sitting on, I'll see y'all soon.